Log number 31. I'm recording this on the 24th of May, and this is my last day of the design, of the fifth design actually. And it has been a very reflective week, a very slow, but at the same time, very reflective week. I have been quite social in this week, so therefore I drain a lot of my energy. And especially now that it was the final week, I knew that I couldn't really force it, so I was taking less hours working on the design and sort of breaking it down throughout the week. Initially, I thought that I could finish this on by Wednesday, and that I could do the background, which is the stone tiles and the shadows and the lights that are needed to create this cohesion through the composition. I realized that it was becoming quite hard for me to process these final few finishing touches, and I either drifted off or willingly just ignored the plan. And what I mean by the plan is that the reference that I had suggested this specific concept and guideline on how to move forward. And usually at the beginning of every design, my tolerance into following my sort of like this guidance is at its all-time high. I tolerate sort of this creative and express what you feel approach, so I can have this baseline that is tied to this concept that I had in the beginning and tied to the story inevitably. And towards the end, almost every time I am feeling that tolerance becomes an intolerance, and I want to veer off from it. I want to breathe my current situation. It's been a week, not a week. It's been a month and a week actually since I've been working on this design. A very complicated design, but at the same time, I didn't have a lot of problems with it. But I had a lot of questions towards the end. And this week, how to manage the shadows, to manage what levels of graphite does this area need, so that it sort of helps the meaning that I was aiming for the concept. And I found myself drifting off quite regularly. I'm I couldn't work more than 3 hours on each day, and it resulted with me, if I tried working more than 3 hours, it resulted in my sort of half assing sort of situation, that I felt it wasn't what the design needed. And it was maybe the leading up to the week and the previous week as well being very sort of down weeks. And what I mean down is emotionally draining and emotionally sort of heavy. But it helped the design build itself, but finish it was quite hard for me. Thus I took till Friday to complete it and to make it make sense. I was happy that I took this opportunity to reevaluate what I was feeling and what this design sort of imposed in my mind, because every design that I create, every moment that I share, it's a timestamp of what I was living when I was making it. And when I finished the design, that month, those weeks that I was spending on it, is now my memory of it. And seeing all the designs together and seeing, these 5 designs reminds me of what I've been experiencing and what my thought process or what was affecting me in those months, um, reflected in those compositions. And it's fascinating. It really is. It's very personal to me, and it makes for good storytelling because it becomes alive. The emotions that I'm depicting there, besides the story, besides the cohesion of how it's going to be used, it's a reflection of what I've been feeling documented in that composition. And this composition, as any of the other ones and any compositions that I'm going to be making, is dear to me. It's like a photo album, and I get to see all the past photos, even for every painting or design or drawing that I make. This effect becomes apparent, and I had a hard time saying goodbye this time. I'd say, but I want to touch upon on your screen now. You're probably going to be seeing the composition and its final stage in terms of the picture that I've been sharing throughout this log for design number 5. You're gonna see how every section is sort of marked out, and that means that I've completed it and it's done. And there is a square on the top left of the composition. That square, it's blank, and that's where I allowed myself not to complete it and leave it to a future part of me to have the final say in it. It is addition on the story, how whatever is happening in this composition, that square, it's gonna be an add-on, but at the same time a binding visual, and at the same time concept of what this composition was depicting. And along the composition, I'm going to be sharing some of the measurements that I was doing. I failed to do a log that showed the previous design's measurements, but doesn't matter. I'm going to be showing it in this one. And an interesting discovery by seeing how much measurements I've needed now versus before is that for the past 2 designs, I narrowed down my measurements into 2 pages, obviously front to back. But initially I had like 5 or 6 of them. And it's been fascinating to see how I am beginning to streamline this process. I'm beginning to learn, make it better, make it more efficient. And it's a nice feeling, I'd say. I'm becoming more aware of my my method, and this method is becoming more me. And as soon as I've finished the design, I quickly took the other 4 designs that I've done and uncover them and place them all next to each other. I usually do it towards the last 2 weeks of the design that I'm making, or any design that is close to its end, mainly to see how different it is from the other ones, or if I need to do more improvements to the current design or the previous designs. hinting to design number 3 when I saw the other two designs, and I had to overhaul the textures and the whole compositions to match my new acquired skill. And as I was looking at all of them, I realized that my last two designs are really strong designs, in terms of skill, in terms of my methods, my confidence, my ability to convey what I wanted, and the time and the day of what I was trying to depict. I no longer sort of, to my eyes at least, showcase my fear or my incompetence, because I'm honing this skill and I'm reached the level where I feel sort of comfortable, but at the same time very uncomfortable on what is to happen next. But what I know, I feel like I have really narrowed down, and I can really replicate and use it on demand. And this, compared to the other three, the first three designs, is a bit different, but I didn't quite mind it. I didn't quite mind how different these last two designs are, given that they're in a different lane from the other three statues slash designs. I said to myself that if need be, when I finish all of them, I need to do more shadowing, more harsh lights, or any of that sort, I will. But I decided that it is not required right now. And what it is required of me is to keep moving forward and finish this set of 6 statues, which are the 6 compositions, and see how that sort of works together. And through that, to create the 3 major designs, the 3 main designs of this arc. And given that the more I work, the more always the newest design is going to have the best of my abilities and my skills. And I'm happy that I've made the decision to do these 6 small ones first, so I can make the main designs to be a beautiful, both in visual and in its story. And the difference that you are probably going to witness between the 6 statues, I think it adds to the concept of what I was questioning throughout this log journey of how would I depict the skill level of this stonemason, given that he has been living here for many years and he was creating statues not just in this one specific year, but throughout his life in this tower. So I try to think about that, and I try to comprehend that showing his skills either deteriorating or flat out becoming better is essential. So at hands down, say this last design that I've made, last being the latest, is the most intricate one in terms of textures, the sheer ability to show the difference between the sections of the composition and where the stonemason went out his way to touch, destroy, fix, or change, and where the weathering effect of time took its toll on the tower. It's been a beautiful month with this design. My mind has been, I would say, the least specific when it came to this composition. When I say specific, I define it as when I'm going through a composition and the things that I'm living, my mind sort of shouts this specific concept, this road, this direction, and I follow it and I feel very connected to it. But with this design, I didn't feel this linearity. I didn't feel this specific direction that it took me, and I am both intrigued by it and sort of questioning it even further if it's something to do with what I've been feeling towards the last 2 weeks that has sort of detached me from it, or if it's something that has to do with time, meaning the more time I spend on this theme, the more fluctuations of breaking this routine will happen. Either way, I see it as a positive. I see it as a positive to add these intricate feelings and intricate ways of moving through this story. I know that for many and most probably all of you, what I've been saying for 31 weeks now is just words, things that are hard to comprehend, and you would like more visuals, more more the concept that I'm taking this to understand all these words. And I do understand that, and it is my hope that and my intention inevitably that when the time comes that you witness this arc, you witness the beginning of the Stonemason story and journey, all the things that I've been saying, or maybe you will revisit these logs, they will start making sense to you. And I hope uh, this this specific story and life that I'm depicting mirrors and touches upon the sensitive parts of everyone's story, of everyone's struggle. I caught myself thinking this week about how it's been a while since I have defined and reiterated what the Stonemason story is, sort of like a recap. I used to do that in flow a lot. I used to sort of explain what my story was about. Usually, when a new viewer would come in and they would say, "Hey, what are you working on?" I would sort of describe the story of flow in a few lines, saying to them how it started and what's the purpose and all that. And I haven't vocally done that since the beginning. And I thought to myself, moving forward, every 10 logs, I should have a recap on how I'm going to be, how if everyone didn't know anything about this, if they would forget, or if a newcomer would come, how would I describe what I've been working on and what this story is about to them? So moving forward in log number 40, I know it's quite a bit of ways from now. I'm going to be describing it, sort of retouching upon that. I could do it now, and in fact, I just might. The Stonemason story is about this figure, this stonemason who finds himself in this tower, all alone, isolated from events of his life that led to his isolation and his past that is imminently and unequivalently his present and future. In his castle and this tower, he begins to answer the many questions he had walking in it, and the things he has done and the things he has seen, his past that is slowly leading him into the places that he is, his mental state deteriorating, and we come into his tower and slowly begin to look at what he's been doing what life he has been living, and how many years did he actually lived in this tower. Through his artworks, his statues, his notes, his writings, his poems, all showcasing what this individual felt and was feeling up until the point we arrived. And using our observation skills to we navigate around this tower, and we begin making sense of it all. And we begin to uncover who this person was and why they have came here from the beginning, and what life they had and what they have been running from. Above all, it's an interactive story. It's a story that not only gives you a sense of linearity, but it allows for your curiosity to become the compass that actually creates the artwork. Because your curiosity in what you find interesting along the compositions and the words that I've used, new gateways of the true artwork begins showcasing itself to you. And that to me is the power of being a storyteller. It's not just telling stories about these imaginary characters that are based from reality and are based from a slice of life and a slice of history and what have you, but the ability to put someone's emotions and reflect the reality that we all are living now, and at the same time that we all are affected or have been affected before. There is a time continuum that art brings in a very weird and whimsical way into perspective that I found an urge to create again. The stonemason's journey. This individual that in many ways bears a resemblance of everyone. Of everyone who has lived and breathed life, who has known what it is to give a life and take a life. And in many different ways is it shown, apparent in this story. And I would invite everyone to take this journey into his mind and inevitably our own. That is my concept of the stonemason described on the 24th of May 2024. I'm saying that because I want to make a record of every 10 weeks. I want to attempt to describe what I'm making, as I said before. And I think it's going to be a powerful thing for me to listen back to it each 10 weeks, just to realize how much I am growing and how much this theme is growing. I somewhat witnessed it in flow, as I mentioned before, and it was very powerful for me to understand how much it grew on me. When it at the beginning was mere symbols having meanings, and from the symbols that had meanings and the completion of the paintings, I began making a time continuum, and from the time continuum, the story, and the story then direction that I was taking it. And I think that's my attempt now. That's what I'm trying to consciously bring back. Moving forward this week, I'm I want to slow down things. I want to take a breather and revisit my last statue of the six here, the last composition, and really take a time with it to understand what direction I want to take it. Initially, in a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that this specific design, the last design, has a very unique twist, and I want to sort of comprehend if the twist that I initially was going for is the twist that I want to end up with. So I'm going to spend a few days on that. And along that, I would like to complete the task that I set out myself to do this week, which was to sort of do an analytical catalog of what I have done so far since November, what designs I've created, what stories have I written, poems and all that, and sort of have the amount that it needs to be done, so that you guys know what I've been working on and how far I've came. I was supposedly going to do it this week, but given the situation of how my week was going, I decided to take it slow and do it next week, which is this week that you're listening to this recording. Or if you are listening to this in a much later date, then thank you. Thank you for finding it or for catching up. Regardless, I want to do some sort of cleaning around in terms of my artistic sort of side of things. So I moving forward to the last design number 6. I don't have anything left before I move into this. And I also said that I was going to create sort of a poll on what composition of the 6 would you like to see. So the mock-up, the alpha stage experiment of me opening it up and showing to you guys how it's going to be interacted and you having your own moment with it, and enabling feedback to come back to me and understand how the interaction works. I am going to push that forward to the end of this design. Initially, it was the end of the 5th design, but I want to finish it on design number 6. So I know in a better scope of what is to happen. Also, on the time that I'm gonna finish this, the new design number 6, I am going to take a bit of time to take upon me the flow catalog sort of revisiting, so that I can have another go at selling the remaining paintings. And I have a few ideas on how to do that, but it's going to take a bit of time. I don't think it's going to take more than a week. But that will be the middle ground before I move on to the 3 final designs for the Stonemason. That's just some rough sort of estimation on what's happening in my brain. But yeah, I think that pretty much runs up week number 31. And let's see how the week treats us and how design number 6 will be depicted, in what direction I am going to take it. And I'm planning to do some measurements towards the end of the week, so I can ease myself on the next week to start an easy drawing session of design number 6. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next week.